It is now time for the Broken Body series with my favorite doctor in the area, Dr. Baggett. Good morning, Dr. B.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you too.
It's going to be a good one. I can tell you I can see the beginning of the end. I think I certainly believe as an optimist that things are certainly on a better trend. We just hope that it pans out. And how were your holidays?
Oh my goodness, my holidays were busy. I was here. I was here from Monday to Monday.
Oh, Lord.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
You have somebody to talk to.
I had you, and not you, excuse me. I had the listener, and yeah, that's it. I wasn't really bothered. I enjoyed myself. How were your holidays?
Oh, they were good. We couldn't go anywhere because everybody was blaming us for Omicron, and then they realized that Omicron is everywhere. I mean, it's just total farce.
Honestly.
So we were all stuck in Botswana, visiting parts of Botswana we've never been to. So
yes.
and we've had decent rain, things are looking green, and I'm very pleased. And we started last week, in case you didn't listen, we talked about the usual thing we talk about in the first week of the year, and that was resolutions. And
yes.
just to sum up, we've emphasized that your intentions must become a behavior, which must become a routine, which must become a habit, and eventually it just becomes you. And this is the way that things become natural. So it's not a diet, it's a lifestyle. It's it's not an intention,
yes.
and it's not a habit. It is who people say, this is Zoo, this is how she eats, this is how she sleeps, this is her discipline. It's not Zoo's got this habit. So this is all we're getting talked about. And today we're going to continue, because we had lots of questions about that, but mainly philosophical, so I won't answer them because it's not a philosophy show.
Okay.
Lots of things about intention and belief and disbelief. But today we're going to continue in terms of one of the key areas of nutrition, and that is, good fats and bad fats and good carbs and bad carbs. In terms of what people should do in terms of getting themselves on the right track. And if we talk about fats first, generally fats have really had a bad name, and wrongfully so. I mean, in the 1970s and 1980s in North America, there was a doctor called Ansel Keys, and he was a nutritionist and epidemiologist who decided that fats were the big bogey and was the cause of heart disease and heart attack and stroke. And actually then a whole program of nutrition started where everybody was on a low-fat diet. And this continued right up till now. And what we've seen over the last 20, 30 years is people are not aware that there are such things as good fats and bad fats. And,
yes.
fat is I guess the word people know is cholesterol. And cholesterol, Zoo, is a very, very important part of the body. It's a fat if you want. And for example, almost 80% of your brain is fat. And
yes.
You've got to have fat in your diet to build your brain structures, your nervous structures, and the nerves that conduct electricity are surrounded by insulation, which is made up of fat. So we know that people who don't get enough healthy fats start coming out in rashes, they get forgetful, they get depressed.
Yes.
Fats are important for hormones. Women who, particularly these long-distance runners who are extremely thin and are exercising rigorously and not eating any fat, they lose their periods, they have fluctuation in their periods, they have mood swings because the fat in the system has actually been basically squeezed out. So it's really important to understand, before we get into the bad fats, that good fats are important. And in one simple sweep, what are examples of good fats? These generally are plant-based. The olive oil, the peanut oil, the sesame oil, the avocado oil, the olive oil, the nuts like almonds and peanuts and macadamia, and peanut butter. These are healthy fats. And the bad fats are what are called saturated or trans fats. This is fat that comes from processed oils. For example, having sunflower oil or canola oil or soya oil. These are bad fats for you. Why are they bad? Because the process to take the oil out of a sunflower seed is so complicated and requires so much chemistry that there's more chemical in the sunflower oil than sunflower oil itself by the time it lands on those golden shells with golden-looking skin. Actually, when you crush sunflower oil in a factory, what comes out is this grey, brownish paste, and they chuck lots of chemicals to make it look, bright and golden. But actually, it's a lot of chemicals, and we've discovered these actually are highly toxic to the system and can cause a lot of inflammation in the body. So try and avoid these processed oils that I know people use. Stick with coconut oil. Stick with something called ghee. Ghee
is good.
Yeah, it's spelled GHEE, and you can find it. It's very cheap. It's clarified butter, where they boil butter, or they boil milk rather, and all the milk evaporates, and what you're left is with this substance which you call ghee, which is very healthy for you. So olive oil, coconut oil, ghee, butter is good for you. These are all natural oils that nature made, and I guess the bottom line that I teach my patients: if you want to know what the good fats are, eat fats that come from nature, not that come from a factory.
I was about to say to you, Dr. B, because I mean, my gym instructor, who's also a close personal friend of mine, has issues with the way that my weight is rapidly dropping because I had cut out carbs. And I was about to ask you, which natural carbs or which healthy carbs can we eat so that I may start gaining weight again? No, not weight, but gaining muscle and stuff, because I do bruise easily now. And yeah, I just want to know. I need help.
Yeah, well, absolutely. Well, you remember carbs, or the proper name is carbohydrates, are naturally found in plant-based foods, and these are typically good carbs. The type of carb that is called a complex carb, which promotes healthy digestion and metabolism. And bad carbs are the ones we talked about last year. These are processed carbs. Again, things that are made in a factory. So, for example, we tell people eat peanuts, not peanut butter.
Yes.
You know, eat a fruit, not fruit juice. So if it's man-made, it generally is not as good for you. So, you know, the bread, the rice, the pasta, the palachi, all these things are refined. They've removed all the ingredients from them and just left with sugar. So, you know, if you estimate the amount of sugar in Weetabix or cornflakes or muesli or oats, they're incredibly high because they've squeezed out all the fiber, all the muruku from it. So if you want to gain weight in a healthy way, together with muscle, which you get protein for which you need to consume protein, you need to eat good carbs, which are basically, you know, the things we talked about, you know, whole grains, brown, quinoa, you know, those sort of things. In this country, korong, lebelebele, you know, mtlatlawani, mosotwani, all that stuff is actually high and in complex carbohydrates and actually very, very good for you. And the bad ones are the things we buy in the supermarket, unfortunately, Zoo, that actually make you gain weight in the wrong way. So breads and grains and you know, fruit juices, sometimes starchy vegetables like too much fresh chips, pasta.
Yes.
You know, sweetened yogurt, fruit juices. These are really toxic stuff for you because they really are you just consuming sugar. And you know, these days we're able to measure sugar without picking your finger. We can actually measure it automatically on an app, and you can actually just see how the sugar spikes after a bowl of cereal or a bowl of oats or Weetabix, and people are not aware that this is the case. Even the same issue, Zoo, is with sorghum. You know, if you're going to eat mabele, the sorghum must be sorghum meal. It mustn't be the processed sorghum that you find in the supermarket, because there, basically, you're just simply eating something like palachi, because you've removed all the fiber and all the goodness from it, and you've just got basically pure sugar. So it's the reason why some of our elderly folk who eat a lot of bofobe tend to get overweight, because they're just eating too much starchy stuff.
Yes.
I've got a question here. Is potato a carb? Definitely. They're chock full of starch, and people love this, you know,
the tastiest, yeah.
They're just full of the bad things because, you know, the person that's fried those chips have probably used the oil again and again, so you're getting reused oil. It's probably one of the processed oils as well. Plus you're adding salt. Plus it's got lots of fat, and plus it's got lots of sugar. So it's the perfect poison for you to eat. Somebody's asked, are eggs bad for you? Now, eggs have really got a bad rap, too. And yes, people would remove the yolk and just eat the white. And actually, it's very important for people to understand that studies have shown that eggs help prevent certain strokes, serious eye conditions such as macular degeneration and blindness, and the yolk itself is a very natural type of fat, and so you can have between 1 to 2 eggs a day without having any harm at all.
Yes.
Somebody's asked, I eat a lot of broccoli. Does broccoli have carbs? Yes, broccoli has natural complex carbohydrates, and they're actually very, very good for you. Somebody said, Naka, name 3 of the foods never to eat. Oh, gosh, okay. I'd say to you, you know, hot dogs and processed meats are generally the worst.
Oh, my gosh,
yes. Things you can put in your body, diet sodas, which are calorie-free but contain lots of chemicals.
Hey.
Processed pastries is the one that comes to mind. And all these really strange fluorescent things that come on the market that are sold to children. Those are the really nasty things. One more question if we have time.
Yes, we do.
Is bacon healthy to eat? Bacon is high in saturated fat and cholesterol, which are not as harmful as previously believed. So eating a small portion of bacon is not so bad for you. One more, our banana is good for you. Bananas are delicious and they're convenient, but their nutritional value, they're a good source of essential nutrients like manganese, magnesium, potassium. So a banana is actually very good for you. There is a myth out there in Botswana that if you have a banana before you get onto the bus, you won't have to empty your bladder. That's actually not true.
Dr. B, wait. I have a friend who actually tried it, and she said she didn't need to pee for such a long time.
it's called a placebo effect.
Yes.
I think her mind overrode it.
Okay.
Somebody said, what fruit should I eat every day? I generally like to eat the small fruits, the blackberries, the raspberries, the blueberries, the strawberries, the pomegranate. I don't like the big ones because they contain lots of sugar. Somebody said, Naka, you said is peanut butter is bad for you. It is not as good as the manoko that you find out in the field. They've added salt, they've added sugar in the peanut butter, so it's a commercial preparation. And remember, most things that are put on the shelf contain ingredients to stabilize it so it doesn't go off.
Exactly, so it doesn't go bad.
Exactly, and if something doesn't go bad, you've got to be suspicious because that means it's not living, it's not healthy, it's not from nature. We've added something to make it stable, so that's an important thing. And the one last thing.
Yeah, one last.
Is about food labels. If you cannot understand or even pronounce the food label and the chemistry on the food, you should not be eating it.
Exactly.
Some of these got such long names, that you're in dangerous territory. if your grandmother can't read it out, then don't buy it.
Exactly. No, I love that one, actually, the last one where it's like, if you can't read something, just don't. But yeah, we've run out of time, Dr. Baggett, but there's one thing I wanted to say. Maybe you can mention it next week, Sunday, but like about fats, meat fats and all that stuff. But like I said, we've run out of time and I do have to say goodbye.
We'll talk about it next week, and next week we'll talk about sugar as well.
Yes. All right, Dr. B, have a great afternoon.
Take care.
Thank you.